everybody, and welcome back to the stream. It's Tuesday, and you know what that means. It's time for Perpetual Motion, the class where we never stop moving. I am all in black today, like the darkness of the void outside, because yesterday was the solstice, and today is, not that far removed from the solstice, so it's dark. I don't like it. I don't approve. I know everyone's like, it's okay, that was the darkest day of the year, it's all gonna get lighter from here, and I appreciate that energy, but also it's good to recognize that it's still pretty freaking dark. Take whatever metaphors you want to from that. Hi everybody, welcome. I am really hoping that the stream is looking okay. Streamlabs keeps giving me warnings about dropped frame rates, which is weird because I've closed literally every other program on my laptop. So fingers crossed that Streamlabs was just being a little silly and everything is fine. But hi, it's good to see you all, figuratively speaking. It's almost Christmas, which is blowing my damn mind. For those of us who celebrate that, which I do. I was on a Zoom call with my parents yesterday, and my mom was unwrapping ornaments from the creche, which is something that we usually do together. And so, she was unwrapping things on stream, on the call, and we were oohing and awing, and I felt sad in a way that I hadn't up until then. I think it was that sort of really clear realization that, I don't get to do all the things for Christmas that I had been intending to do. I don't get to go be with my family. And that hadn't really sunk in until those moments where you're like, oh, here are these family traditions that are having to be put on hold this year. And, that is sad, and I know most of us are going through this. Drop frame rates could also be due to my internet connection. It's true, and there's not really anything I can do about that part. So, but as long as I'm looking okay, and hopefully, if the stream for some reason is funky today, I know the VOD will be fine, because at least I remembered to hit record on Streamlabs, so no matter what goes out live across Twitch, we should be all right. But yeah, I know that many, if not all of us, are dealing with that sort of missing our traditions for the year. Next week is New Year's Eve, and normally I'd be prepping for a big wonderful party with all of my friends, and I'm definitely not prepping for that this year. But, yeah. So if you are feeling that, I'm right there with you. And, I know it's not going to be forever, and I know that, and I know you know that, and I also know that that's not necessarily always helpful. So let's just leave it with, we are gathering how we can. We're finding community where we can, including right here. Yeah, we are doing this for a very good cause, and I'm proud of all of you for taking it seriously and being willing to put these things on hold for the greater good. The greater good. Oh, God. But not in a creepy hot fuzz way, an actual greater good way. Yeah. I had something in my head and it went right on out of my head. All right, so if you're new to class, hi, welcome to the stream. So Tuesdays we do Perpetual Motion class, and there's a reason that I call it the half marathon of HIT classes, because usually when I run a class like this, we would do a work interval with a specific number of sets for a specific number of minutes, and then when the final horn goes off, you get to stop and go, all right, cool, relaxing, drinking some water, standing around waiting to find out what's next. Today, When you hit the end of that timer, you instead go into our active rest exercise, which for us is cross jacks. And I'll demonstrate that when it becomes necessary because it's a very easy exercise to pick up if you haven't done it before. But it does mean that from the time that we begin the warm-up to the time that the very last ending horn sounds, you do not stop moving for the entirety of class. So you need to be able to apportion your energy appropriately. So I always remind people in the warm-up that we are not trying to ramp up immediately to 120%, but that goes double for today because you're not getting the usual rests that you would expect to get. So I also recommend that you make sure that your water is within reach of a standing position because cross jacks are a standing exercise. So if you're used to leaving your water somewhere random, put it as close to where you're going to be, where your mat is, as possible so that you're able to just easily grab it and drink from it while trying not to spill on yourself because that's the special skill we have to acquire for this class. But let's do our pre-class checklist. Yeah, time to get started. Let's get some energy. It's dark as fuck out. We need some energy. So, pre-class checklist. Have you got your water in whatever vessel you are carrying it in? The nice thing about doing class at home is if you want to have your water lined up in 5-pint glasses next to your laptop, you can absolutely do that. I'm not here to judge. As long as you're actually drinking the water, you'll be fine. We got our comfy clothes on, whatever that means to you. We've got our mat or mat-sized space on the floor. And if you use a fitness wearable, now is the time to turn it on to high-intensity interval training. If you don't use a fitness wearable, that's totally fine. Yeah. Without further ado, look at that. This is the most on time I've been in a while. And I'm still two or 3 minutes after when we would usually start. But you know what? It's okay. Y'all keep coming back. So clearly we're doing something right. Thank you, Watch. All right, my loves, it is time. It is time for that warm-up. So let's everybody get on your mats, on your backs, 1 foot crossed over the opposite knee. And as soon as you hear that horn, we will begin with hip rocks and bridges. Hey, there's the horn. Oh my goodness. If you are new and this is the first time that you have done this warm-up is consistent across all of my classes, which is really nice, I think, because it provides a nice through line and it provides something that you can go into any of the classes, even if you haven't tried them before, and know what you're doing to start with, so you don't have to spend time at the beginning trying to pick things up. And it's just a nice way to ease into a new class. But what I talk about every time is the fact that, and I alluded to this earlier, we are not ramping up immediately to 11, okay? Our warm-up is basically our boot-up sequence for our bodies to get ready for exercise. All right, switch feet. So right now, we are starting that process. So we're telling our brain, oh, all right, I need to be prepared to be sending signals, electrical signals down to muscle fibers to make sure that they're activating appropriately. And we're telling our muscles, oh, all right, it's time for me to turn on that energy production system so that we have enough fuel for whatever we end up doing. So, yeah, so we're not here to push ourselves for intensity. We're here to slowly ramp up to exercise, basically. And the warm-up is very specifically designed with that in mind. So we start with this initial section where we're doing initial activation of a lot of key muscle groups. So right now we're doing some initial activation of the core. Now we're going into our leg sequence, starting with Jane Fonda, so lying with our body in a nice straight line on the mat, and we're just lifting that top leg. If you struggle to get into a straight line with the body, use something straight to measure against, like the long edge of your mat. So convenient. And make sure that you're engaging your core, because we are sort of balancing up on the hip, and there's a lot of potential for rolling one direction or another, which we don't want to do. So, again, we're not doing an intense balance. Having your core engaged is not the difference between doing this and not doing it, but this is the time for us to start paying attention to a lot of those tricks that we are going to be using throughout class, okay? Now we take that top foot, put it flat on the floor in front of the bottom knee, and we're lifting that bottom leg. All right, here we go. And this is our first opportunity to start thinking about knee positioning. So depending on your hip flexibility, you may be able to just set your leg here, your knees pointing straight up at the ceiling, nice and safe. It's not trying to cave forward. You're not having to do anything in particular to keep it there. Awesome. That's what my flexibility is like on this side too. I don't really have to do anything. Not everybody has that degree of hip flexibility, or some of us have it on one side but not the other. So this may be an opportunity for you to engage the muscles in your hip to pull that knee back and try and get it pointing straight up at the ceiling. We'll talk more about that when we get to the other side, okay? But now we take that top foot, put it flat on the floor behind the bottom knee, and keep lifting that bottom leg. So now we're in our beach pose. And this is our easiest position for our leg sequence. We're just sort of chilling. We don't have to worry about the balance because this is nicely positioned to just stabilize us. We're not worried about our hips, rolling backwards or forwards. So we can really just chill here and focus on lifting that leg. And that's really the only thing we have to worry about here. So it's a nice ending position before we turn around and do all three of these again on the other side. Besides, this lets you pretend for a little bit that you're at the beach. And, I'm not a beach person, but I do kind of miss the beach. Maybe next year. All right, speaking of the other side, let us repeat. So back to Jane Fonda. So again, we're going for a straight line of the body. This is one of our first opportunities to practice spatial awareness with regards to where our limbs are in space at any given point. And this is a skill that we can train up, and it's so useful for fitness activities of all types. So if you can't quite tell, if you're like, well, I don't know if I'm in a straight line, then use that long edge of your mat to line up. And then once you've done that, pay attention to how it feels. Pay attention to how it feels to have your body in that position, and you will slowly start to memorize what that feels like so that later you can just set yourself up without needing the assist. All right, now we're back to top foot, flat on the floor in front of the bottom knee. So this is my less flexible hip, which means that if I'm not engaging the muscles there, my knee starts to cave forward like this. And the nice thing about this position is we're not in a standing position, we're not putting any weight on the knee. So if my knee's caving forward, it's not the end of the world. It also means this is a great time to practice engaging the muscles in the hip socket and pulling that knee back into that position. Because once we get on our feet, once we start doing squats and stuff like that, it's going to become far more imperative to make sure that your knees are safely positioned. So use this as a nice opportunity to practice that skill. Now we get back into our beach pose and chill, super relaxed. A nice way to end this sequence, I think. You know, again, we're not worried about rolling back and forth. I'm just sort of focusing in on that leg lift, starting to pay attention to what it feels like to be engaging different muscle groups, okay? Because the more I can learn about how it feels when those muscle groups engage and are doing work, the more I learn about how my body moves and reacts throughout this class. And it becomes easier for me to learn new exercises because I have a better understanding of what a teacher means when they ask me to engage a certain muscle group or position myself in a certain way. So we're doing our best to learn as much as we can about our bodies to make this whole process easier. All right. Now heading into our waking up our backs and our hips. So we start with our scorpion twists. Our forearms firmly planted on the floor, and we're just swinging one leg at a time across our bodies, trying to get that foot flat on the floor, trying to get that knee pointing up towards the ceiling, but always keeping those elbows glued to the floor, okay? So you are not letting your elbow come up for any reason. And if you can't get here without your elbow pulling up, then you can't go that far yet, and that's fine. This provides us a nice measuring stick to tell how flexible our spines are right now, and to better see when we improve, okay? Now we're standing, huzzah, holding an imaginary PVC pipe above our heads, and we're just doing some nice big torso rotations. Change directions every couple of rotations just to even yourself out, because we're only doing this on one timer. So I want you to make sure that you're not just going in one direction and then get to the end, we go to a different exercise and you're like, oh, well now it feels completely out of balance. Because believe me, I hate that feeling for myself, and I would not wish it on anybody else. And make sure that you are initiating the circle from your hips. So not your arms aren't moving anywhere. They're staying up here. My hips are allowing that big circle, okay? And my arms are staying in the same position relative to my head. So now, still holding that imaginary pipe, and we're doing our first run of squats. So this is our first opportunity to check in on our knee positioning, all right? While we are standing, okay? So it's more important. So if you are not able to squat with your feet in, a shoulder width position, if you're not able to squat without your knees trying to cave in towards each other, then narrow your stance. Try again. Okay, cool. I can maintain it here. So I'll just keep this distance for as long as I need to, as many classes as I need to, until I feel like I can go back to the wider position and test that out again. All right? So never be afraid to make the modifications that will make this safer. All right. Now we move into our Samson stretches. So this is our nice big stretch of the front of the hip flexor, okay? We get into this lunge, straight back leg, not a double bent leg lunge. And we're raising our arms straight up towards the ceiling, but we're not trying to introduce additional bend in the spine. The spine's gonna have some curve to it just because of the position that we're taking, but I'm not trying to enhance that. I'm really focusing on sinking down into the lunge and opening up those hips, making sure that my pelvic bones are pointing forward the whole time and not opening out like in a warrior two, okay? All right, but now we get into this nice wide squat position, and we've already, with the scorpion twists, had a twist for the lower to mid back. Now we're getting one for the upper back. So I'm twisting one shoulder at a time in towards the midline. And other than that, just holding steady in this squat. I've got my hands on my knees, which gives me an assist in keeping my knees safely positioned over my feet, which is nice. You don't always have that, so revel in it for this warm-up, all right? But the only thing that's moving are your shoulders, okay? Nothing else is moving. I'm not bouncing up and down out of the squat. I'm not letting my knees cave in. Just one shoulder at a time. All right. Cardio. We start with our jumping jacks. And again, this is the point where a lot of us go, oh, we've hit cardio, so now it's time to really ramp up to 100% energy output. Nope, we're still in the warm-up, my friends. So we've been ramping up our energy output naturally over the course of the warm-up, just because of how the exercises are designed and ordered. But we're still booting up, okay? So now we've reached the point where we're finalizing booting up our cardiovascular system. So we're starting to get our heart rate going a little faster, our breath's coming a little faster, start moving that oxygen more quickly through our bodies. But we can do that while just doing sort of bare minimum jumping jacks, all right? Kick throughs. Oh man. This is an exercise that is very complicated. If you haven't done it before, I'm going to be putting an instructional video up that I will recommend people watch before they do this. But make sure that if you're new to it, you are not trying to rush, okay? Go, hit one position, switch sides. Don't go for speed. Don't try to bounce back and forth. Much more important to finalize that form rather than trying to immediately be pushing for as much speed as you can get, okay? So always remember that for everything. This is just our first really obvious example, okay? But we are finishing with burpees. Huzzah! So remember, wave push-up, okay? Keeping those elbows right in by your sides. And then nice victory clap at the top. And in any other class, we would be aware that this was the end of the warm-up and we'd be able to stop moving. Today, we know that when that final horn goes off, we will start doing our cross jacks. So don't let yourself stop moving when that horn goes off. Instead, get back on your feet and I will show you how to do cross jacks. All right. So it's basically a cousin of the jumping jack. So I'm jumping out, jumping in, one foot crossed in front of the other foot, out, and then in, switching which foot's in front, and my arms are doing the same, okay? If you need to modify, you can. A couple of ways. You can kick the feet out while doing the arms, or you can just do this, going back and forth, but make sure you're moving the whole time. Don't stop when I stop. I get to stop, I'm the teacher. Okay, let's grab some water. So yeah, make sure you're still drinking water today, okay? This isn't an excuse to get dehydrated over class. It just means that you need to figure out how to drink water while still moving, which is a skill, but if you've ever run a road race or anything like that, you've probably developed that skill. There we go. I met with an accountant today for the first time, and halfway through the call, we realized that in the before times, we take classes together over at the BRC. And I was like, well, this is a very Boulder experience to have. And it was another one of those moments that sort of made me a little wistful, just remembering all of the things that I hope to be able to do again in 2021. But no matter what we get to do in 2021, these classes will still be here. Yes. All right. So we are going to start out, and we're going to be peppering this through class. Lots of toe squats today, my friends. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So taking our feet hip width apart, and then as I show you from the side, backs as straight up and down as we can keep them. We start to squat down. When we can't go any farther because our Achilles are in the way, let your heels come off the ground, come all the way down here, and then back up, okay? You know this exercise if you've taken class with me before. So we're going for 5 minutes, and it's perpetual motion, so we don't get to take like static rests, all right? If you need to stop doing toe squats at some point during this, that's fine, but you have to keep moving. You have to go into your cross checks or whatever modification of the active rest exercise you've been doing, all right? So we don't get to use the usual excuse to stop moving. That is not what we're about today, but we're only doing it for 5 minutes. There'll be one horn midway through. So back on your mats, you're cross-jacking away, and as soon as you hear that horn, we start the exercise, all right? So remembering all of the form points, okay? So what have we talked about before? We've talked about before doing anything, making sure your core is engaged so that your torso is not given the ability to sort of roam around, because we're coming all the way down to the balls of our feet. There we go, I speak English. And that's not a lot of surface area to be balancing on. And if we don't have control of our torsos, as you can see, losing our balance, best case scenario, we fall over and have to reset. Worst case scenario, we fall over and hurt ourselves. So before you go anywhere, engage that core, and it pulls all of this together and stabilizes it so that by the time we get down, this is all one cohesive unit, and it's not as hard on the feet and ankles to maintain that balance. The other component that's important to keep in mind is that we are not letting gravity take control, all right? It is really tempting. You know, we're like, well, I'm already trying to get all the way down here. Why not just let gravity give me an assist? Not for this exercise. If you're getting down here and you're bouncing around, it is really bad on your knees. It's putting a lot of unhealthy pressure on them. So you need to be in control of the motion the entire time. That doesn't mean you can't go fast, all right? I can absolutely get some good speed in, but you see I'm not bouncing at the bottom. I am maintaining that stability the whole time. So that is another thing that's sort of non-negotiable in this exercise, is you need to make sure that you are not sort of going part of the way down and then just collapsing into your knees, okay? Not good, not good for anything. Ooh, you know what's about to sound? The halfway horn! Yay, that took a little longer than I expected, and I don't know why I didn't expect it, because I was literally watching the timer. My friends, God, it's been a hell of a year, you know? It's been a hell of a year. But yeah, so we're doing a lot of toe squats today because A, I love them, B, I love them, and C, I want to help you build up to being able to improve the number that you can do and the speed if that's something you're going for. So we will frequently, in other classes, have, be given a 10-minute timer and be told to do as many as we can in that timer, or be given a number range from generally like 150 to 300 and be told to pick a number and then have to get to that number within a certain amount of time. And it's really intense. So today we're gonna have a lot of these sort of smaller bites of toe squats so that you can get a little bit used to going for longer periods of time, because 5 minutes is not a lot of time overall. So if you are here going, okay, I am taking rests at various points, active rests, still moving, then you can work on increasing the number of reps you do in each set, all right? So, if normally I'm doing 25 reps before I have to take a rest, today on these 5-minute timers, let's see if I can do 30 reps. Let's see if I can do 40 reps, So take advantage of the fact that we're not going for as much time to see if you can challenge yourself to increase the number of reps that you're doing, all right? Hey, and now we go right back into those cross jacks. Do not stop, but do make sure to get water. Yeah, we love water. Water is important. Hi, water. Thanks for all you do. It was weirdly warm. Like, this is the thing about Colorado winters, is that it's either super cold and snowy or it's 60 degrees. And I'm still not used to that. Like, I am used to either living in a tropical place where the weather's just always like 60 to 80 degrees, or living in a place where it's actually freaking winter. And Colorado just combines the two in a way that, even 6 years in, I'm still getting used to. Oh, all right. So, what we're doing next is a perpetual motion set. Obviously, the whole class is perpetual motion. It's a perpetual motion timer, 45-second work intervals, okay? And we just have 2 exercises. So we're just gonna be going back and forth between the 2 exercises. And first one is going to be aerobic sneeze. So we started doing this a week or 2 ago, where we're not gonna take a super wide position. We're gonna do a small squat, bring the knee up, and I want you to engage the obliques to rotate your chest towards the knee, bring opposite elbow to that knee, and then down, up, down, up, down, up, okay? So you're getting a little oblique activation in there in addition to the squat. It's fun, I like it. And second is going to be front superhero, okay? And we're going to do the moving version, not the held version. So on your stomachs, arms and legs extended, and you're gonna lift your legs up, chest and arms up, and lower, lift and lower, lift and lower, etc., etc. Okay, so aerobic knees and front superhero. So everybody cross-jack your way back to your mats, assuming that you weren't still on them. And we're moving, we're doing our active rest exercise. And now, we start as soon as we hear that timer. So, for people who are new to class, one of the things I talk about is that you should focus on the bare minimum, okay? So, don't ever come into a brand new class and go, all right, I am here to really show them what I got. And so I'm just gonna go really hard on the energy and crush myself. And they'll know how strong and powerful I am. That's not what I want you to do. Bare minimum consists of 3 things: starting on time, stopping on time, and doing the exercise correctly, okay? And if you focus on just those things, I have to stop doing that for a second because my shoulder is acting up. If you focus on just those things, you are gonna get a great workout, okay? Regardless of anything else. But when we're doing a perpetual motion set or class, starting on time and stopping on time is different from what it's like in a class where I'm doing a lot more Tabata sets, right? Because when you're doing a Tabata timer, you are always coming out of a rest. So you get the opportunity to be like, okay, let me get myself into a position to start the next exercise and go from there, and then I can just start as soon as I hear the timer. But with perpetual motion, you're always coming into the next exercise from a previous exercise. So what starting on time means in this class, or any time that I do a perpetual motion timer, is how do I move as efficiently as possible from the exercise I'm currently doing to the exercise that I need to do next, okay? And that's what our focus is. We go, all right, well, I'm doing front superheroes. I'm lying on the floor, so I need to be able to get up onto my feet really quickly to start the aerobics knees when that timer goes again. And depending on the exercise, you may have a range of positions that you could be in when that final timer goes. And if that's the case, then you need to figure out how you can efficiently get from that exercise to the next one, depending on where you are in the exercise, okay? So think about that as we're going, and try and pay attention to each time we do this transition. How does it feel? Woo, losing my balance a little bit. How does it feel? What do I need to be thinking about in order to transition from standing to front superhero, okay? Just as an FYI, I know this isn't the version I gave you, but my shoulder's feeling a little bit pinchy, so I'm just gonna do a held version that's gonna be a little bit easier. So don't, you can do this version. Honestly, if you would rather do this than the pulsed version, that's totally fine. Either one. I'm just trying to be kind to my shoulder, because what do we always talk about? Actually paying attention to the signals that our bodies are sending us. So that we are not
over here trying to muscle our way through pain that our body is sending us as a signal that something is wrong and going to get worse if we keep going, okay? If you take class with me long enough, you'll know that that is one of my big frustration points, is the way that we train people from childhood, which really crushes me. We take kids with no experience in movement principles and we train them, particularly in team sports settings, but in any setting, in dance, in gymnastics, in any activity you can think of, we train them to disregard their body's requests for rest, their body's insistence that something is wrong and should probably have some attention paid to it. Instead, we train them to like push through the pain, and then we send these kids into adulthood with masses of chronic issues that are going to follow them for the rest of their life, because instead of leaving them with solid movement principles, all right, go back into your cross jacks. Instead of leaving them with solid movement principles, we instead left them with the understanding that our bodies don't know what they're talking about, and they do. Oh, you know what's wonderful? Mods. Thank you. My friends, being a non-dude on the internet is a fascinating experience. Gosh, wow, there's some great usernames. If you are wanting to be on the internet as a streamer, I recommend mods. You know, I am a very small stream, and so my mods are my friends and loved ones who take this class regularly and have that sword by them, and they are doing yeoman's work. And again, small stream, I'm not getting nearly the levels of issues that larger streamers do. But if you're ever on a Twitch stream somewhere, just always give a shout out to the mods. And if they, you know, they slap you down with a warning or anything like that, don't yell at them, don't get snippy with them, even if you think it was undeserved. They are doing an intense freaking job, and yeah, sometimes they mess up. Absolutely. And you know what they usually do when they do? Apologize, unless you're an asshole. I've had that happen. I've been in a stream where I was accidentally hit with a timeout, and then the mod was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to do that to you." And it's like, yeah, I get that. You're just doing your job, and you're doing important work. So always toss a metaphorical coin to your mods. Oh yeah, I'm getting to the point where a bot is gonna be the thing to move to next. So, but where I am right now is in the middle of class. So you know what we're gonna do? We are gonna do more toe squats. So everybody back on your mats. I don't even have to, you know what you're about. Same thing as before. So as soon as you hear that horn go, you move out of your cross jacks and in to your toe squats. So we're keeping our feet about hip width apart. And again, this is another one of those things where when we talk about spatial awareness, this is a really good position to learn how to get into without having to fuss around, okay? And you'll have to do it at the beginning because we all do. I say hip width apart. You go, what does that mean? So if you are going, what does that mean? Imagine that you have a string that's just jangling straight down to the floor from basically your pelvic bone. You want that string to be hitting the top of your feet, okay? If my feet are here, then they're too far apart. The string is going to be in between them. If my feet are here, they're too close together. The string's going to be on the outside, okay? So you may need to sort of fuss around, find that positioning, sort of be looking down, using your hands as a guide, and that's totally fine, that's totally normal. But start to pay attention to how this position feels, okay? And as you get more experience, you will get to the point where I tell you that you're getting into a hip width position and you can just, boom, I'm there, okay? Or I tell you shoulder width, boom, I'm there. Because shoulder width's the same thing. You know, I've got strings going down to the floor, hitting the top from my shoulders, hitting the tops of my feet, okay? But yeah, so when we have these types of sort of foundational starting positions, and hip width apart is a big one, you know? There are a lot of standing free weight exercises where you don't want like a super wide position, but you don't want your feet next to each other because you want that stability. Hip width is a great stable position. So this is one of the first ones that I would recommend you sort of get the sense of, right? Oh man, I'm talking away, I'm barely doing any of my toe squats. So one of the things to do in this second set of toe squats is check back in on your form, because you're probably feeling a little bit more fatigued than you normally would, right? Because you've already done this once, and so you've already really worked these muscles, and now you're coming back for more. So, you know, check in and be like, am I still engaging my core, or am I starting to feel that wobble? Am I still controlling my descent the whole time, or am I bouncing a little bit when I get to the bottom? And if you notice any places where the form is getting a little messed up, reset, re-engage, okay? And make sure that you are checking in. We're not always going to be able to hang on to the form perfectly, okay? Especially as we get tired, it's just not going to be something that we are going to be able to maintain 100% of the time. But the faster you can notice that you're losing it, the faster that you can pull back in line. And that is a really important skill. Or the faster you notice, okay, I can't keep going because I am not able to maintain the form anymore, and you stop doing the exercise, you go into a rest or what have you, okay? So train yourself to notice more quickly when you lose little components of the form, okay? And that alone is going to make everything so much easier. Oh boy, absolutely. Whew. Oh, friends, you're almost done with the second round. Yeah, back to your cross jacks. Huzzah, huzzah. Oh, I had a walk earlier, so I'm feeling like, whew, I'm getting a lot of doses of exercise in today, which is nice. But I'm also trying to remind myself that I had a walk earlier and it was a nice long walk. So I don't have to be pushing quite as hard as I normally would for class right now, because I don't want to run myself completely out of energy. Hey, are you drinking water? Because you should be. Oh, so important. All right. We are going to do another perpetual motion set, my friends. And it's going to be 45 seconds again. And it's going to be
2 exercises again. So just going back and forth between the 2. And those 2 exercises will be, what will they be? I knew them. Okay, jumping jacks. It's going to be the first one. So you can do a bigger version of jumping jacks. If you are used to straight arms and big jumps like that, go for it. For all my friends who have shoulder issues like I do, you may still want to keep that bend in the elbows so you're not moving quite as much through your range of motion, okay? Because the longer the path, and this is a really long path, the more intense the repetitive motion is. I know it causes me a little bit of pain, so I will stick with my bent elbows, and I'll just try to make the jump itself a little bit wider, maybe go for a little bit more speed, okay? And then turtle waves is our other exercise. So anything where we have turtle in the title, we start rolling up onto the shoulders, then up onto the feet. For these, we will then plant the hands, jump back to a plank, and then do that wave push-up, jump the feet forward, and repeat, okay? So that, those are our 2 exercises. Nice and fun, a little bit of rolling around, which we always enjoy. All right, so back on your mats. You're still doing your cross jacks because we're always doing those. And now you're doing your jumping jacks. So really didn't have to do that much of a switch from one exercise to the other, which is nice. Always nice to have that experience. And jumping jacks are not an exercise that I usually have a ton of form notes for. You know, they're something that we've all done in PE classes and have a lot of experience with. But having your core engaged is pretty much always a good thing, because even for something like this, I have my core engaged, and that helps me to control the limbs as they go out in all directions and then come back to the center. All right? So that would be my one form note for jumping jacks. But now we're doing our turtle waves. So again, you want to do your best to use the momentum of that roll to get yourself up onto your feet. If you can't do that, that's fine. We've got a couple months. We can push ourselves up using a hand, or you can let one knee come down, sort of get yourself up. The problem with those modifications is that they completely stop the momentum of the exercise, and it just makes the rest of the exercise more difficult. So the better, the faster you can train yourself to just roll up onto your feet, the easier the whole exercise will be. That is a giant chat. Oh, yeah, that's always a fascinating thing. Some people jump in and they're right on the line in terms of chat comments, and sometimes that's where they stay, and that's fine. Well, not fine, but passable. And sometimes, yeah, they instead go, whee, and head off into the sunset. I do think a Nightbot is absolutely what I need to figure out next. I do have community guidelines up on my Twitch page now, if you scroll down and look at all the about stuff. So that is there, which is good, but something that my lovely mods can deploy
in the chat itself is definitely the next step. I suppose you haven't made it online as a non-dude until you've had weird spam bots and or creepy assholes in your chat. So, yay, I guess. Not yay, it's shitty and shouldn't be that way, but, you know, one battle at a time. And at least I no longer concern myself with doing anything other than immediately blocking, you know? Because I remember the first time that happened, and I hadn't figured out any of the moderation tools yet because I was such a small channel. I didn't feel like I had to worry about that, and I hadn't. And of course, it was the one class where none of my close friends and loved ones were able to make it. So I was just sort of trapped with these assholes in my chat. And I was so flustered that I just, basically as soon as the class was done, I just stopped the stream. I was like, all right, we're done. Because, yeah, it felt awful. It felt really terrible. So, yeah, a little bit of a trial by fire there. After that, I modded some people and also figured out how to ban people. And those were both very important steps. But it's one of those things where it's like, that shouldn't be something that I have to contend with. But sometimes people are out there on the internet thinking that their actions do not have consequences and making other people's lives worse. And that sucks. So, hey everybody, don't go out there on the internet and try to make people's lives worse. All right? Can we just all agree on that? Want to make people's lives better? Just a thought. Hey. But today we have mods. Huzzah. And we've come to the end of that timer. So back to your cross jacks. Thank you, thank you. All right. Oh, yeah, my shoulder's feeling things. Might be time to schedule another chiropractor visit, or at the very least, another tape visit. Because that's something she could probably do outside. It doesn't require a lot of close quarters contact with other people, which, yeah, at this point, like, I just want to hole up in like a cave until it's time for me to get the vaccine. Because I am stressed. I am stressed, and I bet you are too. All right, my dears. Well, you know what's going to be next. It's going to be one last run through toe squats, all right? This is our final run. You know everything I'm going to say. You know everything I want you to look for, everything I want you to pay attention to. So just go in, have a good time, pay attention to what you're doing, pay attention to the number of reps you're able to do, you know, because that's one of the ways that we improve our performance on these is upping reps. But you need to know how many reps you're doing before you can up them. Well, I guess you can accidentally up them, but we like to be as data-driven as possible. All right, my dears. Oh, everybody back to your mats. Well, you're probably already on your mats. jumping around like crazy people. Oh God. Hopefully not tripping like I almost did. And hiya. So you do not need to go for speed, FYI. Speed is not a required component. And as with everything, generally I want speed to be the last aspect of an exercise that you incorporate in, okay? So if you're learning something new, focus on that form. Look at that. I came down, I didn't have my core engaged, I was losing my balance. So I don't want to introduce speed on top of that. I want to reset. I want to go, whoop. There we go. Let me test it again. Okay. And get into a good rhythm, a rhythm that I'm able to maintain and that is going to help me to keep the form as strong as possible. And then as I get stronger, then maybe I start adding more speed in, okay? But speed should always be the last factor you focus on. Because once we start adding speed in, we don't have as much time to lock in form. So you want to make sure that your form is totally locked in before you ever get to that point. Because if I'm over here, you know, doing toe squats, not consistently engaging my core, wobbling around, letting myself drop to the bottom of the position, and then I add speed in on top of that, then I'm just putting myself in even more of a risky position, okay? And I'm training my body incorrectly, because that's what we do. As we repeat things, we are setting up those neural pathways to learn how to do the exercise so that we can move as much of the processing out of our conscious processing levels and into subconscious. So we don't want our subconscious to remember the exercise incorrectly, because that is going to set us up for an injury. I don't know if y'all can hear the wind. It's crazy right now. It is so windy out there, and I'm just really grateful that it's winter and all those wildfires from the summer and fall have been taken care of, because that wind out there would be real scary if it was happening a few months ago. Holy crap. The wildfire season this year, my friends. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And, you know, obviously it wasn't just Colorado. California got hammered. Oregon got hammered. And you're just like, wow, climate change really doing a number on us. So, yeah, at least it's snowy. It was drizzling earlier, and the ground is real cold. So, we're probably okay. But I don't know that I'm ever going to like feel that wind out there without having that little hitch of fire. No, I'm not in fire season. It's okay. I can breathe. Ugh. No fun. No fun at all. Oh, my friends, we have fewer than 40 seconds left, so I want you to do your best to keep doing the toe squats for the rest of this timer until the ending timer goes and you go back into cross jacks. All right? So really just try to maintain the exercise the whole time. Exhale on the effort, which is standing, okay? check in on that form and know that you've done a great job. And now back to cross jacks. Yeah. This year has given me a lot of weird mental hiccups, you know, because wildfire season has given me a new appreciation of fire bans in Colorado, and a lot of discomfort around, you know, windy, dry conditions. And the pandemic has just, like, I do not leave my house without a mask on my face before I even open the door. And whenever in 2021, fingers crossed, whenever it is once again okay to leave the house without a mask on, I know that the first few times I do it, I'm gonna feel real uncomfortable. I'm gonna feel so exposed. And the first times that I'm around other people in closer quarters without masks on, it's gonna feel really strange. We are gonna have to be so kind to ourselves in 2021, because we're gonna have a lot of weird mental hangups, my friends, and we're gonna have to move through them together. All right, last but not least, one more perpetual motion set. We are doing 30 seconds, that's all. First exercise is gonna be shrimps. So we're moving ourselves up and down the mat by first rocking shoulders, then hips, shoulders, then hips, shoulders, then hips. Oh, I hit the end of the mat. Now I go back in the opposite direction, okay? And then second exercise is burpees. Y'all know burpees? Y'all know what I want from burpees. So 30-second work intervals, just going back and forth between these two. And that's gonna be the end of class. So, all right, here we are, starting with our shrimps. Y'all know how much I love this exercise. If this is a new exercise to you, this is another one of the exercises that has a lot of moving parts, and it requires a lot of isolation of different body parts to be able to move them independently of the rest of your body. So if you're struggling with that, then try to just do a boat rock and visualize the movement initially, okay? We're doing burpees. See, I've made a critical error in that it's harder for me to do burpees with my mat this way, but I can't do shrimps with my mat the other way. So I'll probably just do cross jacks while y'all are doing burpees. Or maybe I'll do push-ups. Yeah, I'll do push-ups while y'all are doing burpees. But yeah, so if you're struggling with the shrimps, start by just doing small boat rocks like this, and visualize that every time your shoulders come off the ground, they're gonna move. And every time your hips come off the ground, they're gonna move as well. And then try and integrate that, okay? But if you're over here just turning yourself in circles, that's not all that helpful. All right, you're doing burpees, I'm doing push-ups because of poor mat planning. That's the problem with having to pay attention to how I'm oriented with the camera, is that every once in a while I end up with exercises that are really not compatible with each other in this particular structure, right? But that's not something you have to worry about, because you're not trying to face a camera. Huzzah! Oh man, but I do love the shrimps. It is a lot of fun. You know, I talk about the dance training that I have, 3 decades of dance training. And one of the big things that you learn is the ability to isolate different parts of your body and to move them without moving any other part of your body, or to move them in different directions. So like we used to do this kind of arm puzzle where it's just like you have to make sure that you can keep moving your arms in the same pattern but slightly offset, And it's an incredibly useful skill that I wish we taught deliberately in more activities, because it definitely comes in handy for me in a lot of different areas of exercise. All right, last time for those burpees, my friends. So really, we are using up the last of that energy. We do not have to save it. We do not have to worry about continuing to move, because as soon as you hear that horn go off, you will be done with class. So, hey. Yeah. Woo! Good class, my friends. Let's do a little stretching. Let's do a little bit of stretching. Oh, all right. Let's take a nice standing position, feet about hip width. And let's start by letting your head drop to the side, ear to shoulder, and then take that arm, put your hand on the side of your head. You're not pulling down, you're letting that extra weight intensify the stretch along your scalenes, okay? And don't let this other shoulder lift up, all right? You want that space, and you want that nice stretch all the way down to the root of the muscle, okay? And just take some nice deep breaths. And release the hand. Let your head come back up to center. And then to the other side. Same thing. Feel how it may feel different on this side. Maybe you feel like you can go lower into the stretch. Maybe you feel the opposite. Maybe this side feels tighter. Use that as an opportunity to learn more about your body. Okay? We are not symmetrical creatures as much as we wish we were. And it's important to remember that. And it's important to learn more about the differences in one side of your body versus the other. Okay? All right, release. And let's lift our shoulders up. Let them drop. Lift them up. Let them drop. Roll backwards a little bit. And then roll forwards a little bit. Let's take one arm, cross the body for a shoulder and tricep stretch. So I'm holding the arm just above the elbow, really pulling it in, trying to flatten that upper arm against my chest. Okay, so feeling the stretch in the outside of the shoulder and coming down into the tricep. I appreciate the stretch more now than I used to. All right, let the arms sort of go gently forward and back. And then other side. Oh yeah. Again, take note of the difference in sensation. Maybe the stretch feels more intense on this side, or maybe it feels less intense. Learn, learn, learn. All right, let's do a quick standing quad stretch. So just hang on to something to assist the balance. It's just easier that way. Even if you can maintain the balance, this way you don't even have to think about it. Balance on one foot. Take the other foot up into that hand and pull the heel into your butt as close as you can, keeping that knee pointing down at the floor and getting a nice stretch along the quad, okay? So all along there. And if you can balance, you can absolutely do it this way, but it still takes a little bit of the focus off of the stretch in the quads. So even though I can maintain that balance, I still like to put a hand on a counter or a wall, just because that way I don't even have to think about it. And now, other side, same thing, same notes. Ooh, yeah. Feeling that nice quad stretch. You know that my heart belongs to that lying down quad stretch, but this gives us a real good stretch as well. And then, finally, let's just roll over the tops of the toes, one side, and then the other. You can go back and forth, okay? We're not leaning in, putting weight on it. We're just adding a little bit of pressure so we get a stretch along the top of the foot and up into the shins. It's just a nice thing to do to sort of reverse the movement of the foot, because we were going up onto the ball of the foot a ton with those toe squats. So this is just stretching out the muscles on the other side. All right. And that's it. Woo! Oh my goodness. Good job, everybody. Good class. A little dark and dreary outside, a little windy and ominous, but you know, inside we've got some solid lighting, we've got plenty of water, and we've got each other, and that is a wonderful thing. And thankfully, all of the excitement in the chat went away, and none of those frame rate issues came back to plague us. So I'd say success all around. Make sure you're drinking your water though, my friends, please. We are so bad at hydrating. Fitness Friend says, drink your water. It is so important. So very important. All right. We've got we've got only 2 more classes this week. I am canceling stream on Friday. It's Christmas, which is a holiday that I celebrate. So I am giving myself the night off. Okay, so there will be no functional home fitness this week, but our other streams will remain in place. So tomorrow, Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time, we've got Jump Around, our weekly cardio class. And then Saturday morning at 9 a.m. is the weekend kickoff, our awesome strength and stamina focused bodyweight class. So definitely join me for those classes. And if you celebrate Christmas on Friday, Merry Christmas. And I hope you have a lovely holiday. And if you don't, Merry Friday. Or something. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's definitely, I need
I need to lie down or something. Let me finish the spiel. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All of those handles will be in my end cards, but they are all variations on Blanche Case Fitness. My YouTube channel, Blanche Case Fitness, is where I upload the VODs from these streams, so you never have to miss a class. There's also going to be tons of supplemental material going up, especially in the new year, so definitely head over there and subscribe so that you can get notified when the new content is up. If you want to help support me financially in making these streams, I do have a coffee account at Blanche Case Fitness. Your donations are always very much appreciated. And I am also going to be starting up a Patreon very soon, which will be another awesome way for you to be able to support these classes, these streams. Speaking of supporting these streams, if you want to help keep growing this channel, growing this community, I promise, aside from the occasional trolls in chat, it is an awesome community filled with wonderful people who I love very dearly. I'm so happy to be here doing this work, and if you want to be a part of it, then please follow the channel. Tell your friends, loved ones, coworkers, anyone looking for an awesome class. Come and hang out with us. I stream 4 days a week. Even if you're not working out, just hang out and chat. It's a super fun time. And even if you're not doing class along with us, you can still learn a lot. You can go back and do the VODs later. There's so many ways to interact with these classes. I love it. I love the accessibility of this. It's one of the biggest advantages from my perspective. And I have so much more content I want to do, and I want to keep making it with y'all. So yeah, we're almost to 2021, and you know, I've got plans, my friends. I've got some big plans. So come with me on this journey, because it's going to be fun. All right. It's shower time. Shower time, hydration time, food time, and it should be all of those things for you as well. So go eat, hydrate, rest, wash your hands and wear a mask if you have to leave the house. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Dismantle white supremacy. If you live in the state of Georgia, don't forget to vote in your runoff elections. And I will see you back here again tomorrow. Mwah. Have a great night.